this video, I'm going to go through exactly how I took this photo of a Christmas pudding on fire and how you can add fire into your own studio images. The shoot itself was not without trials, and I'm going to go through exactly how I set everything up first. So if you just want to kind of skip ahead to the bit where I talk about how to photograph fire with studio lights, then I'll leave a timestamp just here. Before I start talking about fire or any photography, I just want to get the boring bit over with, and that is safety first. Do not put yourself or your house in danger. Definitely do not take the batteries out of your smoke alarm. If this is setting off the smoke alarm in any way, you're doing it wrong. You shouldn't need to take the batteries out of your smoke alarm. Never take the batteries out of your smoke alarm. When I had the spark of this idea in my mind, I kind of went on and sort of researched how best to light a Christmas pudding on fire. We never really had issues lighting them on fire when I was younger. We used to do it every year at Christmas. Just they didn't stay lit for very long, and I kind of wanted to keep it lit as long as possible. A few tips I did find was to use a higher alcohol content alcohol. I'm just going to use what I had in the house, and to warm the brandy first before pouring it. I'll leave the blog I found linked down below, but I had a few issues with this, as you'll see as we get later into the video. Now we're on to the shoot, and like always, I got everything kind of prepared in advance and got everything set up before using the cake. But if it did this again, I would wish I had a second pudding. So I had like a dummy pudding to get ready and then one to warm up and use straight away. I just used the pudding we had in the cupboard from last Christmas that we just didn't use. So I didn't have that option. But just a thought if anyone wants to shoot a Christmas pudding themselves. First of all was to set up the background, and I used this nice dark green background vinyl from Club Backdrops. This background with the green colour I just thought instantly made me feel Christmassy, so this is why we went with this one. I'm using hard light for this shoot, so I feel like this just gave really nice dark shadows, and it really made the highlights of like the brandy and the cake just pop and stand out. If you want more tips on how to photograph with hard light, I'm going to link this video up here. I did add something just to block out some of the light on the background and the glass of brandy. This just helped with the reflections I was getting off the brandy. It was just too bright and it was overshadowing the Christmas cake. As you can see here, the image without the flag and the image with the flag, there's a big difference there. And I just also think it really narrows the light onto that Christmas cake, making it very clearly the hero of this image. The last finishing touches to this image was just adding a few little Christmas decorations just to kind of bring in that Christmas festive feeling and add a bit of depth to the image as well. Now I've got everything placed, everything set up exactly where it's going to stay for the whole shoot. I've made sure I'm happy with it all. I focused the camera, so make sure it's focused. And if you shoot in autofocus, make sure you focus it and then switch it to manual, because I'm going to turn all of the lights off now. This is for the fire, and if you've got it on autofocus, you might find that your camera starts focusing and it's going to really struggle to focus in the dark, and also it's going to waste a lot of time when you kind of want to be quite quick with the shooting. The reason we're turning the lights off is because we're going to shoot with a slightly longer shutter speed. For my images, it was either around 0.5 and 2. At the end, I'm going to show you some of the images, and I'll also pop up the camera settings for each image. The reason we're using a longer shutter speed is to make sure we can get the fire coming through, but we don't want any other lights to be on, because it's going to either light the scene in a slightly different way that we don't want, and it's also going to add in some ambient light, which is going to kind of give you a weird colour cast. To make sure you don't have any ambient light in your image, turn off your flash or just turn off the trigger. Make sure your modelling light is off for the pictures as well. Turn off all the lights in the house and take a picture with your desired shutter speed, so around 0.5 to 2 seconds, whichever you kind of want to go with. If the image comes up a solid black, that's perfect. You've got no ambient light leaking into your image. I waited until night to take this, but if you're in a dark room that you can kind of use blind, you can do that too. Now we've got the image ready, it's time to warm that brandy up, which I've never done before, so I just kind of heated it on a pan as recommended. Looking at it, I think I maybe heated it a little too long because I had some issues with this. When everything's ready, but before we've poured our brandy on, take a picture. This is going to be the last picture we take. Nothing is going to move. This is our backplate. This is going to help us edit in and composite if we make any splashes or messes, which when I'm doing action shots like this, I always do. I always make a mess. Now I poured the brandy onto the image, and I took a picture of this as well because I just thought it looked really cool. It might have worked, it might not have worked, but I actually really like this picture. I think that had like really shines off the brandy being poured and it looks really nice. I'd just like to mention, I've never had issues lighting Christmas cakes before. And then I went to light this cake thinking it was going to be perfect. We were going to get it lit for around 10 seconds. That's what I've usually got from cakes before. And it just wouldn't set on fire. I don't know if I'd overheated the brandy so I'd burnt the alcohol out, if the cake had got too cold because it was sat there for a little bit, or if our lighter was just being really, really bad. It took me a while, but I did get a couple of shots of the pudding lit. It didn't light for very long. I'm sure you guys will have much better results. It could just be that it wasn't a very good Christmas cake, so it didn't really have enough alcohol in it to kind of light through. There's many reasons it may not have worked, but this image is about how to photograph the fire, and the fire I got from the pudding, I did manage to photograph. So the theory of it works. The lighting of the Christmas cake, which was all on me, didn't work. But it's not the photo's fault. So I kept going. I tried a few different things. I poured on some vodka. I poured on some whiskey. I swapped heating the brandy. I think that I got some really cheap brandy and I don't think it was very good for lighting purposes. It does recommend like an XO or Courvoisier, but I'm not spending £42 on a bottle of brandy just to set it on fire. But if you have it at home because you generally drink brandy, go ahead. Use your expensive brandy and get a much better flame than I did. After a lot of trial and error, I did get a few pictures. I also used the lighter in the shot to kind of light paint some fire onto the cake. I can use these as a composite to kind of add to the actual one I got set on fire. And it's just a really nice way of kind of adding a little bit more fire. This is another good reason for taking the back plate because it gives us that base to kind of add extra things onto. For these light painting shots, I went with around 2 seconds just to kind of give me a bit more time to kind of get the lighter in there and back out. While doing all this, I was also using a syringe to sort of suck out the liquid off the plate. It was obviously starting to fill up with all the extra shots of vodka, whiskey, brandy. My house was smelling like a brewery, but I didn't want it overflowing and spilling on. But again, that is another really good reason for using a back plate for the image. If I did make a complete mess and then got a really good one, I could just pop in the surface that I've already taken. In the end, at the end of the shoot, I did get a few nice fiery images. I'm going to have to composite a few together, I think, to really make it a full fiery image and give the feeling that I was going for. But it worked. This can happen on shoots. You've got an idea in your mind and everything just goes and things just start going wrong, but it's a really good way of learning how to make lemonade out of lemons. Here is the final photo and I'm quite happy with it. There's a few really nice ones here. I've composited a few different flames from different images just to kind of make the fire look fuller, obviously because I couldn't get a really good light on the cake, the pudding, but it could just be the pudding that I chose. If you've made one from home and you've soaked it in loads of nice, expensive brandy, you're probably going to get a much better image, but I'm no baker. I didn't bake the cake. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like these behind the scenes videos, let me know because I can always shoot another one for you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!